morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Officially. I'm pretty sure more people will arrive, but we'll get started. So first, wanted just to remind everybody that next Saturday, May 27th, we're going to have the book club, Planetary Transition by Divaldo Franco. It's not a very long book, so there's still time to read this week. I see some new faces, so I don't know if everybody knows the system, but we usually do a bit of a reading before we do our initial prayer, and then we get to the talk. We usually do a reading from Fonte Viva collection, but today I'm going to cheat. I'm going to read a little bit from the Gospel according to Spiritism because it connects to everything we're going to see in the talk, so it's a very good introduction. And then we do our initial prayer and move on to the presentation. So I'm going to read from chapter 14 called Honor Your Father and Your Mother, and I'm going to read item number 8. It's just 3 paragraphs. Blood ties do not necessarily create bonds between spirits. The body comes from the body, but the spirit does not proceed from the spirit, since the spirit already existed before the formation of the body. The parents do not create the spirit of the child. They do nothing more than supply the material wrapping, although it is their duty to help the intellectual and moral development of their child in order to further its progress. Those incarnated in the same family, especially as close relations, are as often as not congenial spirits linked by past relationships, which express themselves in their earthly lives by their reciprocated affections. But it can also happen that these people are complete strangers to each other, and they may be distant from each other due to past aversions, which while on earth are translated into mutual antagonisms that serve as probation. The real family ties are not those of blood then, but those of mutual sympathy and communion of ideas that hold spirits together, before, during, and after their incarnations. From this, it follows that two people born of different parents may be more like brothers or sisters than if they were of the same blood. They can attract each other, search for each other, and also feel happy together. Whereas two blood brothers may be repelled by each other as it's frequently seen. This moral problem is one that only Spiritism can explain through the plurality or multiple existences. So we see there are two kinds of families, those through spiritual ties and those through blood ties. In the first case, the ties are durable and strengthened with purification, perpetuating in the spiritual worlds by means of the various migrations of the soul. In the second case, the ties are as fragile as the physical body itself, extinguishing with the body, and in many cases dissolving morally, even in the present existence. This was what Jesus was trying to make comprehensible when he said to his disciples, "Here is my mother and my brothers by spiritual ties, because all those who do the bidding of my Father who is in heaven are my brothers, my sisters, and my mother." So let's close our eyes. Let's take a deep breath in and out. One more time, deep breath in and out. Dear Heavenly Father, of infinite love, of infinite mercy, today we ask for your blessing through the woman who was the vessel to bring our Master Jesus onto earth. We ask for your blessings through Mother Mary, who dedicated her life, who followed her Son, watched him suffer, and was always beside him. Mother Mary, we ask for your blessing for us. We ask you to cover this whole earth with your cloak of tenderness, of kindness, with your white wings of love. May we all feel touched by your motherly love today. May we all feel embraced. May we all feel like we belong in your arms with your love. May today we learn a little bit more about what the Spiritist Doctrine says about motherhood, about unconditional love. And may this help us understand our earthly parents better and our spiritual ties as well. So be it. All right. Thank you, Victor. Okay, so unconditional love. What does the Spiritist Doctrine say about maternal love? Well, disclaimer, when we say mother, we know that some fathers have a very similar role as the mother. So all those fathers in this situation, please feel like we're talking to you as well. So we're going to start with a quick reflection, just 4 questions for us to start getting in the mind space of the theme. And then, as I usually do, we're going to go with like questions from the Spirit's book, try to understand and discuss a little bit. So this talk was based on this book, Saúde da Relação Pais e Filhos, Health of Parents and Children's Relationship, Spirit's book, of course, and Gospel According to Spiritism. So, how do I understand the concept of love? What is love? Is it easy to define? Are there different kinds of love, or is love love?
I think love is love, but there are different ways of manifesting it, like different levels.
Good way of putting it, yeah.
I also think there are different kinds of love. For instance, you may, maybe we overuse the word a little bit. You can say, I love this food, I love fish. I remember I saw a radio on the internet saying that once, the difference between love and fish love.
That's true.
Which wouldn't work for me because I absolutely can't stand fish. But it worked with chocolate cake.
Yeah,
Chocolate cake, lasagna.
Pudding. Okay, yeah, and funny enough, we do have, I think, well, I only speak Portuguese, Spanish, and English, but in these 3 languages I know, we have several words that refer to love, passion, fondness. And in Portuguese and in Spanish we have variations as well that maybe we could choose better. Good point too. Does unconditional love exist? Or is it just a beautiful idea?
I think it exists.
You think it does?
Yeah, of course.
I like your...
Yeah, very confident.
Yeah, awesome. Does anybody think it doesn't exist? There's no right or wrong answer.
I think it does exist, but think, considering this stage of evolvement that we still don't know exactly how unconditional love works. I mean, I think maternal love can be very close to that, but it's still not 100%, I think.
Okay, fair.
But I might be wrong, that's not my opinion, I don't know.
Fair, absolutely fair. Like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just for us to reflect and see if, after all the questions and concepts, if our opinion changes or not. So if there is unconditional love, what do I think unconditional love is?
You don't love because you love whatever happens. Like
There's conditions through it.
Like
But
what?
there's no conditions.
Like what kind of condition would we put to love somebody?
You don't need to deserve that, to make things to earn that love.
Or because you do this for me, because I will get this from you, so I'm going to love you. You know, because I'll get security, because I'll get this, so I'm going to love you.
It doesn't depend on an exchange, just judging by the hand gestures. Okay. Just to use your words, it's not I love you because something, it's I love you just because.
Love you, period.
Okay, fair. Okay, so now we get started with introducing where we're going with another question. What do we all have in common? All in this room, in this building, in this city, country, planet, universe.
We all make mistakes.
True, spirits, true too.
Yeah, but I was going somewhere more
We all want love.
philosophical. Yeah.
Good.
Well, some people I think are still in denial.
Yeah.
I'm going for something more universal.
Spirits.
We are all spirits, yeah, that is true.
We're all called to evolve.
Yes.
I
But
think-
why? Why? The answer.
Sure, God.
Regardless of shape, regardless of being incarnated or discarnate, regardless of being on Earth, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, another galaxy, we are all children of God. In all ways, shapes, and forms, and density and everything. Does anybody disagree? You're welcome to.
No, I don't disagree, and I think maybe I'm wrong, but I think you want to reach the point where, because we are children of God, we have love inside of us, and we just need to make that grow.
Not only that, we receive love as well, but sometimes our hearts are so hardened that we don't let it in. But it doesn't mean that nobody is sending it to us. If nobody else, which is impossible because somebody always is, God is. And what connects us all? Following that same reasoning, we're all children of God. What's the connection? What are we all subject to?
Brothers and sisters. Same
Yeah,
family.
but what rules us all children of God in the entire universe?
And we all have God's equal love and equal blessings.
Absolutely. What do we all have to follow? Well, we don't have to, we choose not to, but what is in our conscience? What's written in our conscience?
Divine laws.
Exactly. No matter where in the universe, we are all subject to divine laws. That's what rules the universe. That's how the universe works. There is no exception. There are no God's favorites. Right? It might look like it if we don't believe or don't understand reincarnation. It might look like God has favorites. But if we understand the concept of reincarnation and trials and atonement, we all follow well, we all should follow the divine laws, right? Okay, so now, what is the biggest or the greatest law? The triangle is a good hint. In terms of divine laws, what's the highest, biggest, greatest law?
Action and reaction.
It's a very important law, but it's not the most important.
Is it the, I'm sorry, I haven't read much, but is it the fairness part of it? Like just.
You're in the absolute right path. What comes with justice? How do we get justice? How is justice possible? It's through another 2 laws. And the 3 laws together make what we call the greatest law. The greatest law is a combination of 3 laws. One of them is justice.
Faith, hope, and charity.
Charity is there.
Incarnation.
You can't. Oh, no.
The law of love. Everything comes from love. Everything. Even what seems bad comes from love. A trial, a very difficult trial we're going through on earth, it still comes from God's love. It's probably the result of something we did in the past, and now we're going through a difficult trial to learn from our mistake through God's love. And the second is charity. So if I have love for myself and others, that's going to lead to charity. Love to others is going to lead to charity. And both of them together are going to bring us justice. So this is the greatest law. The law of love, charity, and justice. In Portuguese, we usually say amor, caridade, justiça. So this is the greatest law of all. So now we're starting to get into the whole motherhood thing. Is maternal love a myth?
I don't think so.
But don't we see mothers who abandon their children or who seem to hate their children? Aren't all mothers supposed to love unconditionally? Isn't motherhood supposed to be all butterflies and fairies?
No, mothers are also human beings. And human
She's
beings.
told the words from my mouth.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say exactly that. And you don't have to be a mother to have maternal love.
Exactly.
Excellent point. Excellent point. So, let's go to the source. Spirit's book, question 773. Why is it that among animals, parents and offspring no longer recognize each other when the offspring no longer need care? Right, so after offspring, babies don't need to be cared for the parents anymore. Usually, mostly the mother. They don't recognize each other as mother or father and child. Why? This is why we have a lot of animals, like children mating with the mother or the father, because they don't recognize each other as mother and father like we do. Why is that? Let's find out. Animals live a material life, not a moral life. That's the key, moral. A mother's tenderness for her young has as its principle the instinct of preservation regarding the beings born to her. When these beings are able to take care of themselves, her task is fulfilled and nature requires no more of her. That is why she abandons them in order to occupy herself with more newborns. It's just the law of nature. It's just preservation of the species for animals. So this is why they don't recognize each other as parents and children anymore. Make sense?
Yeah.
Next question, 774. Are there people who infer or understand from animals' abandonment of their offspring that the family ties among humans are merely a result of the social customs and not a natural law? What should we make of this? First of all, do you agree with the statement? First, Allan Kardec makes a statement. He says, there are people who infer from animals' abandonment, so there are people that understand, well, if the parents abandon their offspring when they're able to take care of themselves, then the moment you're able to take care of yourself, you move out at 18, I'm done with you. I wash my hands. So what should we make of this? How should we interpret this? Is it right? Is it wrong? Why?
I think the ties the bounds that are created between spirits, they are eternal. So you can't just create a bond and then it disappears, because it's like a seed. You planted it, so it stays in the moral in the spirit.
Yeah. Well, our like Spiritist Christian views also leads us to that. Plus, for Brazilians in general, I know Italians, I know Jewish people as well, there is this whole culture around the family and like the mother herself, where you don't cut your ties. But there are some cultures where once you're supposed to be able to take care of yourself, out with you. I don't owe you anything. Okay, so let's see what the Spirit say. Oh, and just a reminder, let's remember that this was written in the 1800s. Right? So Spirit's book was written in the 1800s. So we're not talking about a book that was written last year. This is over 100 years old. And the Spirit's answer. Human beings have a different destiny than that of the animals. So why do you always want to identify with them? So first of all, animals are not human beings. For humans, there is something beyond physical needs. There is the need to progress. Social ties are necessary for progress, and family ties are summed up in social ties. Hence, family ties are a natural law. God has thus willed that humans learn to love one another as brothers and sisters. Isolating ourselves is like in some religions, there's the idea that if you isolate yourself to worship God, that's true love towards God or something like this. Not really, because in a way, we're running away from progress. Because how much do our parents test our patience? That's progress if we try and develop patience. That's opportunity, let's say, opportunity for progress right there. How much do our bosses test all of our virtues? Our children, our family in general. You know, I think everybody has a brother, sister, or cousin who is that person who, every time we are at a family dinner or whatever, a restaurant, they forget their wallet. There's always that one. And you keep just waiting, right? Like when the bill comes, you're like, okay, it's coming, it's coming. Oh, can anybody cover mine? I forgot my wallet. So family tests, all of our social relations are great opportunities for progress if we choose to develop the virtues instead of feed the negative feelings, feed the anger, feed the lack of patience, which we sometimes do. Okay, so where does this love come from? Where does the love of family ties come from? And the hint was the beginning that I read in the Gospel according to Spiritism.
We are brothers and sisters. We have one parent, like God is our baby.
Yes. And there's more. If we think reincarnation.
From our Spiritist program,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual program.
Yep. Yes. Question 890. Is maternal affection a virtue, or is it an instinctive feeling common to man and to animals? Do you understand the question?
Yeah.
So is it a given? Everybody, is it a must-have? Or is it a virtue? Is it something that you develop?
I think you develop this.
It's both.
I think it's not.
It's not absolute.
I mean, you have it, but you got to nurture it. If that sums up everyone's thing.
So, how do we explain the mothers who feel repelled by their children versus the mothers who love their child the second they find out they're pregnant?
Scared of responsibility.
Oh, Gabriel, the day you were discharged from the hospital, I cried. Well, for those who don't know, that's my son. He's my oldest. So the day I was discharged from the hospital with you, I cried like a baby because I was like, I wanted this child so much. What am I going to do with him now? I don't know how to raise a human being. I panicked.
I think all the mothers do when you're leaving the hospital.
Well, you left with two at the same time. So let's see what the spirits say. Gabriel, right on the money. And then it's you. It's both. Nature has endowed the mother with the love of her children in the interest of their preservation. But in the animal, this love is limited to their material needs and ceases when care is no longer needed. So we saw that part already, right? Once, for animals, the offspring is able to take care of themselves, the mother needs to have more babies just to continue with the species. That's fine. And then they continue. In humans, it persists throughout life and consists in a devotion and self-denial that comprise true virtues. It even survives death itself, accompanying the child from beyond the grave. And we have several examples in Spiritist literature of mothers who are already on the other side and are still looking after their children, either incarnated or discarnate. We have the example in Nosso Lar of André Luiz's mother, who during the 8 years he was in Umbral, she was still praying and asked spirits to help him get out of there. And Chico Xavier has this sentence that says that a mother's prayer will burst open the doors of heaven. And even when their child is closed off to love, the mother's prayer still stays as like a field of energy around that spirit or per spirit. The moment that spirit opens up, all that energy will flood inside. So if you think praying for someone who is not religious, who is an atheist, who is not open, who is in deep depression or anything, if you think praying for them is no use, that's not true. Do. Pray for them. It doesn't matter if they don't want to accept it right now. The moment they choose to accept, all of that love you send is going to flood in, and it's going to help them greatly. Okay. And when does this love start? When does this relationship between mother and child start?
From the moment of birth, even pregnancy.
Right on the money again. During conception, the child's first spirit is attached to the mother's first spirit. Does everybody know what is first spirit? Yes? No? Okay. So we have our spirit, which is pretty much immaterial, mostly energy. Then we have our perispirit, which kind of involves our spirit. And then we have the physical body. When we are not incarnated, we are our perispirit, that it's kind of an envelope outside the spirit. The spirit is like the nucleus. Our perispirit, or we say perispiritic body, usually when we're incarnated, it usually has the same appearance as our body. So, for example, during sleep, if you leave your body, your perispirit is going to look exactly like you do now. So it's like, it's a fluidic, it's an energetic body that envelops, that protects the spirit. Okay? So the child's perispirit is attached to the mother's perispirit. During the whole gestation, the child who is reincarnating is intimately connected to the mother. Physically through the umbilical cord and placenta, because that's how the mother feeds the baby. And psychically through the mother and the father to a lesser degree, through this perispiritic connection. Make sense? So again, fathers, don't feel left out. These babies are connected to you as well. The connection with the mother is stronger, of course, because the mother is literally creating that body, growing that body. This energetic spiritual connection is so strong that it lasts until the child is 7 years old. For anybody who, I don't know if anybody has gotten to that part, has read this in the Spirit's book. 7 years old is when what we call first infancy or first childhood finishes. And that's when the reincarnation is considered to be complete. Okay? When the child is born, the physical umbilical cord is cut. But there is a fluidic umbilical cord that keeps the perispiritual connection. The physical connection is gone, but the psychic and fluidic connection still exists. So until about 7 years old, there is still an umbilical cord, an energetic umbilical cord connecting the mother and the baby. And because the spiritual word and God is perfect and fair, this umbilical cord can transfer to an adoptive mother or to a father when that child no longer has the mother in the first childhood. Because it's the connection we need with the other spirit. We need to be cared for. Parents have the power of life and death over their children, mainly in the first and second childhood, which is up to 14 or 15 years old. So during the first 7 years, mostly the first year, if you abandon that baby will die. So that's the power we have over another human being, over another soul that we brought into the world. So that's the size of the responsibility of a parent. Make sense? Everybody's looking at me like, So this also, interesting enough for anybody who has witnessed this spiritual connection, like this energetic umbilical cord, also explain all those phenomena of mothers who are in deep sleep. The baby sneezes, nobody hears. She immediately opens her eyes and she go check on the baby. It explains that some mothers sometimes feel the pain of their children and they think it's in their minds. It's not. It's that energetic connection.
Yeah, I've seen it with my friends.
Sixth sense, the famous mother's sixth sense. It's this energetic connection. A lot of things start making sense. So this is an excerpt from the book Saúde das Relações Pais e Filhos. All right. So this energetic spiritual, oh yeah, I'm going backwards, that's why. There. God is the creator, because God created us and all the spirits. Make sense? And the mother is a co-creator by excellence. Because while the father co-creates offering one cell, the mother co-creates offering her own body, her blood, her life, and a series of biological and spiritual functions. So we are co-creators. Fathers, because they contribute with a cell. Mothers, because they literally grow that human being inside of them using her own body as a vessel. So we are using what God created and progressing with that. So that's why we are co-creators. God creates the spirit and parents co-create the physical body. Make sense? In a profound view, according to transpersonal psychology is a field of psychology that takes into consideration the spirit, reincarnation, divine laws. The mother is the archetype. You know what is archetype? The model. Yeah, like the model, the first pattern, the inspiration, the mold, the prototype. The mother is the archetype of the connection with God. The mother's main function is to provide the child with this model of connection with God, because it's the mother who generates us. This way, she gives us a momentary existence in the body, the same way God gives us this spiritual existence. Make sense? So, in terms of role, the role of the mother is to be this connection. Since she is the strongest, let's say, co-creator, because that baby stays in her for 9 months, and everything that happens around, all that mother's emotions will affect that baby because of all of that. The function, the role of the mother as a co-creator is to connect her children to the creator. So a long time ago, that's how it happened. So again, let's remember, Spirit's book was written over 100 years ago. There were very separate and definite roles for mothers and fathers. Today we have a different society. Today we have like some parents playing role of mother and father. We have completely different types of families and households. So we just need to use our common sense and adapt what is said. But it's the mother, or if it's a single father, it's also the father role to connect that being to the superior, to God. Teach to pray, like try and teach faith. And we can only teach. That doesn't mean they're going to learn. But we can try. We should try. Are mothers different from fathers?
Yes.
That was quick.
Yes and no.
Oh wow, that was so fast.
Okay, let's hear.
Well, both of the parents have a role in raising the child.
Mm-hmm.
Though it might be like a little bit different between the roles, you're still taking care of the child regardless. It's not, sure, the mothers go through a lot more to birth a child, right? And most of the time, moms do tend to take more care of the children, but it's still like an equal role for both parents. So in a way, they're not that different, but there are some differences. Just mainly in roles.
Okay.
How to explain families where the mother doesn't have any connection, any bond with the child, and the parent assumes that?
We're going to touch this in just a bit. Thank you for asking. Scenes of the next episode. We're going to touch on that. Yes, we're going to explain that.
It's also different energies, right? The feminine energy is more like the nurturing and caring, and the masculine energy is like the protection.
When we have both parents, yes. But when that child has only one parent, then that parent ends up taking both roles.
Yeah.
They can choose not to. And we know that there are some cases when they do choose not to. There was I don't want to call it interesting because interesting sounds positive and this is not positive. There was a research done after World War II in Germany where they proved scientifically that some orphan kids post-war in Germany, they separated two groups. And the group that was cared for, they were all cared for nurses. But the groups where the nurses nurtured the kids, they were fine. The group where the nurses only provided food, all the nutrition they need. They had all the food they needed. But zero affection. Here is your food, bye. The kids who had enough nutrition but no affection showed signs of severe malnutrition. Even though they were consuming the food, the lack of affection made those kids sick, and they also, most of them presented very serious psychological problems.
Lack of love.
Exactly. So that's the difference it makes. But going back here, so again, let's start even before mother and father. Let's talk about, I have a series of memes that I love, like mom versus dad. I love this. So are mothers and fathers different? Mom giving a bath, dad giving a bath. Halloween costumes. And this one, I love this one. Oh God. You can only see the legs. And my personal favorite. This looks like a lot of fun. I just think I would probably hose spray this child before I would let them in the house. Sure. Hopefully it's not too cold. But yeah, so like Gabriel, no, I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Alice. So like Alice mentioned, there is also that different energy. Like in general, not always, in general, like moms are the nurturing, dads are the fun, roll in the mud, right? And there's a reason for that too, and we're gonna see that. So again, our mother's different from fathers. So let's start before that. Are men and women equal in the sight of God, and have they the same rights? Again, remember, this is 1800s. Women were not allowed to vote. In a lot of cultures and religions, still today, but at that time even more, women were properties of their family first and their husbands after they got married. So at that time, Kardec, who was always ahead of his time, is asking, are men and women equal in the sight of God, and have they the same rights? Has not God given to them both the knowledge of good and evil and the faculty of progressing? So the spirits always give, that hello, common sense kind of answer. But we know Kardec, he's never happy with just an answer like this. He keeps poking and poking. So a few questions after that, after he pokes even deeper, so 5 questions later, after asking in many different ways, and the spirit saying, yes, they are equals before God. Then he goes, since all people are equals before God's law, shouldn't they also be equals before human law? Because again, back then, women could vote, couldn't do this, couldn't do that, were property. And the spirit say, this is the first principle of justice. Do not do unto others what you do not want them to do unto you. Remember the major law, love, charity, and justice? You cannot have justice if you don't love the other people the same way you love yourself. If you don't treat others the way you would like to be treated. How can there be justice? There can't. And Kardec continues. 822a. Accordingly, in order for legislation to be perfectly just, shouldn't it consecrate equality of rights between men and women? Women only got the right to vote in the mid-19th centuries, and actually in some places they still don't have the right to vote. Equality of rights? Yes. Of functions? No. All people must have a specific place, and their occupations should reflect their aptitude. Does it make sense to you? Does it make sense that the role of mothers and fathers in principle is different? Can fathers be pregnant and grow a child?
No.
Not yet.
Yeah, never know. Can most, not all, can most women do as heavy labor as most men
No.
in general?
No.
Our bodies are different.
Yeah, very different.
So they naturally have different functions. So this is what human society still hasn't understood. And a lot of people still haven't understood. Equal rights, it's not the same as equal roles. You can still have equal rights because we all God's children. That doesn't mean you have to have equal roles. I don't have to have the same job and do exactly the same thing as a man to feel like I'm equals. What I need is equal rights, so I can be comfortable in my role.
So
Make
that you can
sense?
have a seat at the table, but
Exactly.
do your thing.
Exactly.
For example, in the gym, I see all these guys lifting weights, and I'm always so jealous. How can they lift so much? And I've tried for 2 years consistently, and I fail, and they've been building muscles. Why am I not building muscles like they grow? But then I realized I'm a woman. Like I can only.
There's some research that says right after giving birth, there is a period in which women are not, we know there are exceptions, but in which women are not supposed to give birth again. And they, in general, if they don't do anything crazy, it will take them a while to lose that weight. And all the ligaments, the muscles are loose because that's what she needs to give birth.
Exactly.
But not only that, it continues after birth. Why? Because she's supposed to be soft for the baby. And she's not supposed to get pregnant like the next week because that baby still needs her for a while. So that's nature's way of making sure that that baby, that offspring, is going to receive what it needs from the mother first before she moves on to have more offspring. So our bodies are supposed to be softer. So the reason why you can't build as much muscle, you can, but we see a lot of women bodybuilders and a lot of them have to go through, jump a lot of hoops, have to take testosterone, like excessive protein as compared to men.
Exactly.
So it's not something that will come natural because that's not the function we were made for.
Exactly.
And it's everybody's right to do what they want. I don't judge, like if they want to be bodybuilders, you go girl.
Yeah.
But the
Understand.
difficulty is because our body is prepared. It's supposed to be soft for our offspring.
Exactly.
In terms of roles, and again, we live in a different society where more and more mothers have to work outside the house to help provide. This has happened more and more. We live more and more in societies where there are single parents for whatever reason, divorce, death, abandonment, doesn't matter. But we have more and more single parents, more and more divorced parents. So it's important to understand that we're talking about ideal roles for mothers and fathers. However, in nature, let's adapt. So ideal roles. So the mother is the archetype or the model for the connection with God. So it's that energy of love, of caring, of, the kid will usually argue with dad but come running crying to mom.
Yeah.
Not always, but usually. And the fathers are the archetype of the connection with the earth. So, you know, like the whole mud thing. So mom is like, oh, honey, I love you. And dad's like, you go. Do it, you can do it, you can do it. Come on. Get up. No, you didn't get hurt. Don't cry. Go. It was nothing. It's fine. Right? So, in general. But like I said, sometimes one of the parents, either mother or father, has to take both roles. It's hard, it's heavy, but you do what you gotta do for your offspring, regardless of being a man or a woman. And the result is supposed to be our children. So with both, the father supposedly helping the child navigate the world, like helping with practical things, with worldly things, and the mother more with the feeling, the affection, the connection to God, the connection to the divine, providing comfort. Make sense? All right. 582. Can parenthood be considered a mission?
Yes.
Does anybody think no?
I don't think it's a mission.
You know, I think people have kids because it helps you to also evolve. Like, why do you have relationships, right? Otherwise, you can stay single.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, and you know,
it's part of the evolution journey because she's so patient. I think she's 20x patient than I am as a person. Like, I would just say, because mothers in general are so patient and they learn and they know how to manage their work. Time management is something that you should learn from. Right? Yes.
I hear ya.
When you say mission, it sounds bad almost. Like it's like a kind of like I have to.
No,
do
not
this.
obligation.
Okay.
Think mission in terms of
You have a
like
goal and you want to
helping
complete it.
humanity.
It's not to help. It's not to help humanity. So
Well,
you
it
can
depends. Like
Care for
if
someone.
depends. What if your child like discovers the cure for cancer? I just helped humanity. Gave her chop chop. Or Anna Clara, chop chop. Okay, so
In terms of responsibility and to guide the human being, or in that sense, right?
Yeah.
it is, without any doubt, a mission, and at the same time, a very great duty, which involves parents more than they might think concerning their responsibility for the future. And I've heard this before from one of my children. I didn't ask to be born. Oh, yes, you did. We all did. Well, it's funny because I usually say, you didn't ask, you begged. And I agreed. And here we are. So, yes, we have asked, we have agreed, unless it's one of those cases where it is a compulsory reincarnation, but still the mother needs to agree. So the mother agreed, for sure. No, can't state that. Most of the time. The mother agreed most of the time. And if that spirit reincarnating is evolved enough to be involved in the planning of their reincarnation, everything was in the contract. Everything was agreed upon. We may not remember, but it was agreed upon. And then the answer keeps going. God has placed children under the care of their parents so that they may guide them on the path of goodness, and has facilitated their task by giving children a frail and delicate organization which renders them accessible to all sorts of impression, mainly during the first 7 years of life. Teenage years, now even earlier than before. Before it was 14, 15. Now 12, 13. That's when our old personas, that's when our personalities from previous incarnations start showing up. Bless you. Start showing up. And that's why we see teenagers' behaviors changing. In like, where did my cute kid go? It's all their old tendencies showing up.
So that's why you're so easy to deal with.
Right? Yeah, a blessing. A bliss. So, let me see, where are we here? Okay. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, so during the first 7 years, they are a lot more malleable, a lot more open and accessible to the parents' influence. So that's why it's so important that the parents are as present as possible during that first childhood, during those first 7 years. However, parents will be parents for the rest of their lives. It's never too late to try and build or improve your relationship with your child. So, and is this love always unconditional? Now we get to the unconditional part, and we're gonna get to talk about your question. So is mother's love always unconditional?
Yeah.
Butterflies, fairies,
Okay, no.
rainbows,
No.
pink fluffy unicorns dancing on the rainbows.
It would be nice.
Couldn't agree more. Would be nice. Question 891. Since maternal affection is a natural sentiment, why is it that mothers often hate their children, and even in some cases before their birth? Because it's undeniable. We see it. It's not ideal. It's not what media sells that we're supposed to feel, but that happens.
Is it a past thing?
Because of expiation.
Right on. The absence of maternal affection is sometimes a trial chosen by the spirit of the child, or an expiation for them if they have been a bad father, a bad mother, or a bad child in some previous existence. It can also, many times, we accept to come as a family. We accept to come as parents and children, even if we did something horrible to each other in the past. That explains that aversion that we feel like I'm not really connected to my parents, or as a parent, I'm frustrated because my child seems like they hate me. I don't know what they've done to them. It is that instinctive. It's that per-spiritual. It's the memory that is not in this body, in this brain, but in our per-spirit, in the spiritual body, that we have that instinct that in the past we hurt each other. So I'm like, while we were preparing to reincarnate, we agreed that coming as parent and child would be the best and easiest way for us to develop love, because that's what's supposed to happen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Because sometimes, just like sometimes you agree to do something that later you regret, you're like, what was I thinking? So sometimes that also happens instinctively between parents and children. Sometimes they are, like I read in the Gospel According to Spiritism, sometimes they are like enemies from many incarnations that all of a sudden say, yeah, we're going to come back as parents and children, and this is all going to be solved, and everybody's going to love everybody. But sometimes the bad blood has been happening for so many incarnations that it takes more than one lifetime for you to open up to the other person, to ease up, to not have that instinctual repulsion. Make sense? Make sense? Did it answer your question, Eduardo? Eduardo, right? Fernando, sorry. Did it answer your question, Fernando? Yeah? All right. So just a visual to help. So as a family, if we talk, and again, theoretical, ideally, father and mother are co-creators and collaborators. Elaborate from labor, from work. So we are supposed to work with God, teach our children divine laws, teach our children to be good, decent human beings, teach them the divine laws, regardless of our religion, morals, ethics, teach our children to treat others the way they would like to be treated. It doesn't matter your denomination, your religion, our children. I think somebody's telling us we're past the time. So we work with God, we co-work, we collaborate, and we co-create, but those children are not our property. They are God's children. They are brothers and sisters in humanity. They are spirits that exist independently of us. They are not our property. We are not to do with them as we please. They are temporarily children of the couple. They might have been your children before, they might have been your parents, they might have been your friends, might have. You are responsible for guiding them down the good path. Make sense?
Yeah. Very much.
So our dear Mother Teresa said, "You will teach them to fly, but they will not fly your flight. You will teach them to dream, but they will not dream your dream. You will teach them to live, but they will not live your life. Nevertheless, in every flight, in every life, in every dream, the print of the way you taught will always remain."
How beautiful.
So it doesn't matter at what point in your child's life, the moment you realize that you didn't come together to pay for anything, you didn't come together to suffer, you came together to learn to love each other. That's what will remain with your children. Thank you. Does anybody want to add something, comment? Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to mothers and mothers/fathers, fathers/mothers.
Hey, I just have one comment. I don't know if you said something about that because I went to the bathroom. But on that other question about when there's a child who hates their children or the other way around, I guess this is also a mission because if you have the responsibility, if you have the acknowledgement that that is happening, it's still your mission, it's still your responsibility to guide them to love, regardless of that feeling. Because if you have the knowledge that this comes from an expiation, this comes from another life,
yes,
it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
How to deal with that. To
The
guide them
awareness.
again.
Yeah, the awareness is everything. And like we were talking about a few weeks ago, I was talking about the reason for reincarnation. And we were talking about preparation for reincarnation. So when I say that we agreed to be parents and kids, it wasn't one meeting that we sat around the table, oh yeah, let's come together, let's go, yay. No, it's years and years and years of preparation, of study, of being together, of trying in the spiritual world first before we come to reincarnate. So we have been prepared. We just don't remember. But we do have that instinctual feeling. Why do some parents feel guilty later in life? That guilt comes from the divine laws in their conscience when they're like, I didn't do it right. I could have done better. So that's where the guilt comes from. Because we have the instinctual knowledge, like it's somewhere in, in the files, in the drawer with the files, it's somewhere in there that we agreed, that we prepared ourselves for that. But we're going to have as many chances as we need. So there's no need to fret.
And God only provides that to us because they know we can do it.
Yes, and again, it's all the law of love. Even if it doesn't seem like it, even if it doesn't feel like it, because sometimes we go through a hard time to learn the lesson, it's still out of love.
Because God wants the best for us.
Always. We can't always understand because, again, best comparison is a child. A child doesn't always understand what's best for them. We can see, but they still can't. We are spiritual children. Like the level of evolution of Earth, we are still spiritual children. There are things we understand, there are things we don't. regardless, if we know the divine laws, if we follow the basics, as we grow up, we are going to understand. We just need to have patience.
And in that alert
Yes.
mode, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like be open and like appease ourselves, like Victor was talking about 2 weeks ago. Finding peace within ourselves, like accepting that we still don't understand, but we will get there. All right, let's go to our final prayer and then the passes.
Happy Mother's Day to you too.
Yes, happy Mother's Day. Lord, Master Jesus, Mother Mary, we thank you for one more day alive, for one more day incarnated on this earth. We thank you for the countless opportunities to learn we have daily, weekly, sometimes even hourly. We understand that we don't always make good use of those opportunities. But as much as we thank you for the opportunities, we also ask you for help. We ask our guardian angels, the spiritual mentors of our house, FSS, the friendly spirits who help support our family groups, our social groups. We ask these spirits to help guide us. No matter how stubborn we are, please insist on us. Please keep whispering the good words in our ears. Please help us open our ears to your good advice. Please help us understand that the main reason we're here is to learn to love. May we all live here with our hearts at peace. May we all have the opportunity to feel thankful for our mothers. Even if they were not present, they still gave us life. May we feel thankful for all the people who gave us affection growing up, for all the people who were there to give us that hug, to embrace us when we needed, as children, as adults. May our hearts fill with gratitude for all those who support and love us. May we have a great week full of love and peacefulness. So be it.